Hello everyone, this is the history tutorial video for class 7. We were doing the consolidation of the Delhi Sultanate. Now, while the Delhi Sultans were ruling from their cities, their fortified cities, the hinterlands were not yet under their control completely. But that also, they extended their control into the hinterlands. Now, while the Delhi Sultans brought the hinterlands, the interiors under their control, they forced the landed chiefs, the Samant aristocrats, and rich landlords to accept their authority, to accept their overlordship. Under Alauddin Khilji, the state brought the assessment and collection of land revenue under its own control. The rights of the local chieftains, the landed aristocrats, the rights of the landed aristocrats to levy taxes were cancelled, and they were also forced to pay taxes. The Sultan's administrators maintained the land and kept careful accounts of each and every taxes. Some old chieftains and landlords served the sultans as revenue collectors and assessors. Some old samantas and some old zamindars, landed aristocrats, they served the sultanate and they acted as revenue collectors and revenue assessors. The assessment, the calculation of revenue, how much revenue a plot of land might grant, that there were three types of taxes, mainly three types of taxes. Number one, on cultivation, called kharaj, and amounting to about 50% of the production of the farmers. So whatever the farmer produced, 50% of that would be collected by the revenue collectors, and that is the tax called kharaj. Number two, on cattle. The cattle, the animals that were kept by the villagers, like cows, buffaloes, sheep, or maybe other domesticated animals, taxes on those animals. And number three, on houses. House tax was also collected from the people. It is important to remember that large parts of the subcontinent remained outside the control of the Delhi Sultanate. It was difficult to control the distant provinces like Bengal from Delhi, and soon after annexing the southern India, the entire region declared its independence from the Delhi Sultan. Even in the Gangetic Plain, even in the plains, even in the northern plains, soon after annexing, there were forested areas that the Sultan's forces could not penetrate. Obviously, there were forests, there were areas which the Sultan's army cannot control. So local samantas, they established their rules in these regions. Sometimes rulers like Alauddin Khilji or Muhammad bin Tughlaq, they forced their control in these areas, but that control did not last for very long. Now we come to the Mongol invasions. The Mongol under Genghis Khan invaded Central Asia and in northeastern Iran in 1219, and the Delhi Sultan was also affected by the Mongol invasion soon after that. Mongol attacks on the Delhi Sultanate increased during the reign of Alauddin Khilji and in the early years of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. This forced the two rulers to mobilize a large standing army in Delhi, which posed a huge administrative challenge. So what happened is, the Delhi Sultans faced an invasion from the Mongols, repeated attacks from the Mongol Empire, first by Genghis Khan, and then after Genghis Khan, lots and lots of other Mongol leaders. They repeatedly attacked the Delhi Sultanate from the northwest. Now, Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad bin Tughlaq both faced these attacks, and both were forced to raise an army, a huge standing army, to face these onslaughts from the Mongol attacks. Now, suddenly the raising of a permanent army, that posed challenge and many problems for the administration, because suddenly the expenses shot up, because maintaining an army was a costly thing in those days. So how did the two sultans face this challenge? How did the two sultans cope with this? We see in this table that we see right now in our eye, in front of our eyes. On one side, there is Alauddin Khilji and what he did, and on the other side, there is Muhammad bin Tughlaq and what he did. Now, under Alauddin Khilji, the first point is Delhi was attacked twice in 1299 and in 1302. As defensive measure, Alauddin Khilji raised a large standing army. The same goes for Muhammad bin Tughlaq because the Sultanate was attacked in the early years of his reign. The Mongol army was defeated. Muhammad bin Tughlaq was confident about the strength of his army and his resources to plan an attack on Transoxiana. He therefore raised a large standing army. So both the sultans raised large standing armies, but as a defensive measure, Alauddin Khilji rose the army, and Muhammad bin Tughlaq, on the other hand, he planned to attack the Mongol territories, and that's why he raised a large standing army. Now let's look at the second point. Alauddin constructed a new garrison town named Siri for his soldiers. So Alauddin Khilji, as a defensive measure, he constructed a new town called Siri, which was fortified, which was a garrison town in which only soldiers would live. And what did Muhammad bin Tughlaq do, on the other hand? Rather than constructing a new garrison town for only soldiers, the oldest of the four cities of Delhi was emptied of its residents and soldiers garrisoned there. The residents of the old city was sent to the new capital of Daulatabad in the south. So, beside Delhi or around Delhi, as Alauddin Khilji had built a garrison town where only soldiers would live, Muhammad bin Tughlaq did not build a garrison town. He emptied the town of Delhi and took all its residents and soldiers away from Delhi and into his new capital called Daulatabad, which was in South India. So basically, Delhi was emptied of its residents and soldiers, leaving it free for the Mongols to sack. Now, the third point says the soldiers had to be fed. Under Alauddin Khilji, the soldiers had to be fed. This was done through the produce collected as taxes from lands between the Ganga and the Yamuna. Tax was fixed at 50% of the peasant's yield. So, tax was remaining at what rate it was previously. Tax was collected from the Ganga Yamuna plains. It was very fertile plain, so tax was easily collected, and tax was 50% of what the farmers would produce. The agricultural produce, 50% of the agricultural produce would be tax. Now, under Muhammad bin Tughlaq, produce from the same area was collected as tax to feed the army. But to meet the expense of maintaining such a large army, the Sultan levied additional taxes. Now, this coincided with famine in the area. Under Muhammad bin Tughlaq, the taxes were collected from the same area to feed the army, but also additional taxes were levied. Additional taxes were issued upon the people, which actually coincided with an ongoing famine. So people were already suffering from the famine, and other than that, additional taxes were levied. So additional suffering for the people was under Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Now the next point is the soldiers had to be paid. Alauddin chose to pay his soldiers in cash. The soldiers would buy their supplies from merchants in Delhi, and it was thus feared that merchants would raise the prices. To stop this, Alauddin controlled the prices of goods in Delhi. Prices were carefully surveyed by officers, and merchants who did not sell at prescribed rates were punished. So the soldiers had to be paid, and Alauddin did not pay the soldiers in iktas. So iktas were not actually called the salaries during Alauddin Khilji's reign. He paid the soldiers in cash. The soldiers would buy their supplies from the Delhi markets, from the merchants directly. and there was a chance that taking advantage of the situation, the merchants would raise the prices. To stop that, Alauddin fixed every the rate of every single product on the market as a fixed rate, as a fixed price. So if any merchant who did not sell at that fixed price would be punished. Now, what did Muhammad bin Tughlaq do? Muhammad bin Tughlaq also paid his soldiers in cash salaries, but instead of controlling the prices, he used a token currency, somewhat like present day paper currency, but made out of cheap metals, not gold and silver. So, token currency was introduced, which was not gold and silver coins, but copper coins. People in the 14th century did not trust these coins. They were very smart. They saved their gold and silver coins and paid all the taxes to the state with this copper coin, with this token currency. And also, to the disadvantage of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, this cheap currency, this copper coin can also be forged, can also be fake coins can also be made very easily from this copper coin. So, in order to save their gold and silver coins, people used to pay taxes with the copper coins, and in many areas, in many situations, fake copper coins. So a large number of fake coins actually filled in the treasury of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Now let's look at the next point. Alauddin's administrative measures were quite successful, and chroniclers praised his reign for his cheap prices and effective supplies of goods in the market. He successfully withstood the threat of Mongol invasions. So Alauddin was successful to cope with the situation during the Mongol attacks. But Muhammad bin Tughlaq's administrative measures were a failure. His campaign into Kashmir was a disaster. Just imagine facing a Mongol attack, and prices and all of this situation was going out of hand, and Muhammad bin Tughlaq planned to attack Kashmir. He then gave up his plan to invade the Central Asia and disbanded his large army. So the army which he raised, it was discarded, it was disbanded. Meanwhile, his administrative measures created complications. The people who were shifted from Delhi to Daulatabad, they resented, they became angry, they became hurt that they had to leave their houses, they had to leave all their things in Delhi and come to and settle in the new city of Daulatabad, which was almost like 300-400 miles away from Delhi. So the raising of taxes and famine in the Ganga Yamuna belt led to widespread rebellion. So taxes were raised, as I told you, taxes were raised in the Ganga Yamuna Doab during a time when famine was raging. So that also made the Sultan very unpopular. So as soon as Sultan realized that the people are not liking the situation in Daulatabad, he ordered all the people to come back to Delhi and settle there. So people had to move along all the way from Daulatabad to Delhi again. It's a long journey. It was a long journey. It was hot. It was in summer. Many people died on the way. It was totally a disaster. Now, in this list of Muhammad bin Tughlaq's failures, we sometimes forget that for the first time in the history of Delhi Sultanate, a sultan planned a campaign to capture a Mongol territory, to attack a Mongol territory from India. Unlike Alauddin's defensive measures, which was to protect the Delhi Sultanate, Muhammad bin Tughlaq's measures were conceived as a part of a military offensive against the Mongols. So his plan was not defensive, his plan was to go on the offensive and attack the Mongol territories outside India. But anyway, that plan failed, and Muhammad bin Tughlaq was remembered throughout history as the mad king who had no foresight, because he just out of the blue he made some random decisions without thinking what would be the consequences, and the people suffered. As a result, the people of Delhi, the people of the Delhi Sultanate suffered. So we are done with this for now. In the next video we will continue with the chapter. Till then, bye.